Welcome to Morgan Minutes with me, Shauna McAvoy, Associate Director of Morgan Consulting, specialising in finance, HR and operations recruitment. Good morning and welcome to this week's episode of Morgan Minutes. Today I'm being joined by my colleague, Raj Shukla, a Director of Morgan Consulting. Good morning, Raj.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, great to see you as usual. And of course, Sally Garner, who is from HR Advice Online. Hi, Sally.
Hi, Shauna.
Nice to see you.
Here.
Yeah, great. Thank you for joining us. Today, we have decided to talk about a topic which is zombie employees. You know, Raj and I have spoken about it internally and, you know, some of the effects of the JobKeeper allowance, even though it's been a blessing to so many employers and employees. And, you know, we wouldn't have been able to do without it. But we've had conversations with clients that have shown some really interesting effects on employees and on businesses. Raj, tell me about the different kinds of conversations and feedback you've had from clients.
Yeah, firstly, I'll probably address the concept of the zombie employee, because I think traditionally we've always referred to zombie employees as those who are disengaged, and it's usually symptomatic of poor leadership and poor management. In this market, we've put that portion aside, and we really need to look at the concepts of zombie employees and that disengaged employment workforce purely from the symptoms of the pandemic and the effects that's
lockdowns and
everything. And I think there's a different causality to the whole concept of the zombie employee. And I think, you know, the JobKeeper, as you said, has been an amazing outlay, and it's helped businesses survive through these difficult times. But I think as we rebound and the market starts to come back, then, you know, employers that I'm talking to are noticing a distinct impact on their workforces. So, you know, I'll give you an example. I have a client of mine, national business, who went out their way to secure JobKeeper for all their employees. It was the right thing to do. They qualified, and their market in the food service industry took a huge hit. The challenge they've had is their employees, that's helped them for the first 3 months of the lockdown. And as soon as we've come out of the lockdown, the employees, they're 2/3 of their workforce, who was telling me, refusing to go back into work for a number of different reasons. You know, some maybe live with an elderly person and share a family home. Others don't want to share, don't want to ride share or come in with their other colleagues because they're in too close proximity. Others simply don't feel comfortable being in the presence of other customers and having those face-to-face engagements. So there's lots of justifiable reasons, but at what point do we really kind of find that fine line between this is acceptable and this is where we need to actually make this business work? And I think that the biggest distinction, and I think the biggest challenge in the industry, is that people's perception of the JobKeeper is it's free government money. It's essentially money that's not at the burden of the employer. Therefore, they don't feel that they owe the employer anything simply because it's guaranteed money for them. And I think because of that mindset, and also the mindset that some people aren't getting fully subsidized for their salary, so they're only getting paid a portion through the JobKeeper, it creates two major issues in the market. One is loss of productivity, and people are only prepared to put in what they're getting paid. And that's one significant issue that we're seeing as the market rebounds. The other issue is people simply not wanting to go into work. And, you know, it typically affects those who can't work remotely. It affects the retail industry, the food service industry, more so than most. But it will continue as it'll become more systemic as the time goes on. So, you know, they're two things we have to really think about. And I think probably the one distinction and the one thing that employers don't necessarily understand is they see the cost implications of their employment to an employer. What they don't see is the loss of business that could cause. So their lack of presence in an office, in an environment, in a sales job, in a retail environment, you know, is essentially losing their market share. It's losing their business. And it's that lost opportunity. It's essentially the cost of doing business, which is more costly than the actual employment cost itself. And I think that's something that employers and employees have to get their head around before it's too late.
Yeah, absolutely. Because it's producing that pipeline, isn't it, of business and work for the future that's 6 months and 12 months away, that, you know, some businesses who aren't retail and food industry are still challenged by, you know, like recruitment or whatever. Sally, how do you see, you know, clients, and how do you talk to clients around these issues in terms of probably motivation, engagement, the softer, you know, side, and then also the technical parts of how they deal with employees who basically, I think Raj has used the words of abandonment, you know, they can't for whatever reason come in.
It's a really difficult situation for both employees and employers. What we have found is there is definitely a lot of need to support employers in understanding legislation and what is required of them, what information they need to share, what processes they need to follow. And that's really consultation. So an employee needs to understand why they're on JobKeeper. They need to understand that JobKeeper payment is to the business. They need to understand that, you know, the work isn't there right now. So, you know, the time will come. And certainly we've found in Victoria, you know, we're only just starting to emerge, and we see some positive signs about getting out of lockdown and returning to some sort of COVID normal. But we're not there yet. And, you know, we need to get that balance between the obligations of the employer and understanding employees have been through heartache, hardship. Everybody's circumstances are different.
Yeah.
And, you know, one person, as Raj mentioned, may have an elderly person living at home and is concerned about going back to the workplace. But other people may have dealt with ill family members in nursing homes. So, you know, there's a fear factor that we need to get our head around.
Also, you know, parents who are homeschooling all the time. I can't imagine how difficult that's been.
I'm glad
you know. Yeah, and it's just not normal to be able to just run out the door and get to work, because it just, you know, in some industries that's an expectation. So and mental health has taken a huge beating, hasn't it? You know,
I think what's also happened is there has been opportunity, and maybe we see this more in the industries that aren't retail, where people working from home have actually developed closer relationships with their leadership team.
Oh, that's good.
You are seeing, look, I can see on Raj's wall the Halloween blackboard or whiteboard, you know, pictures. And so you get to know your staff a little bit more. The staff get to know you as the leader or manager. They see the cat, dog, your partner. So there's been an opportunity to bring some more connectivity. And I think that's it. It's about trust. It's about understanding each person's circumstances, but also making sure through that process that they understand their obligations. So as an employee, you know, you are employed to do this job. You may have gone through a stand down period. Now that's changing. So we go back to what is somewhat normal. So, you know, is there a performance issue here? So do we need to look at that in a different way?
And so with the normal performance management, you know, processes come into play there, Sally?
But, you know, it has to be done with consultation. What we're finding at the moment is fair work dismissal claims have gone through the roof.
Yeah.
And a lot of them are genuine. One or two that have been approved, it's not because the organisation didn't have the right, they didn't consult properly. Okay. So it's about making sure you follow due process and that you inform the employee. So you need to look at, you know, what are the circumstances behind a need to make a redundancy or to perform management? And you need to be very clear, and it needs to be a two-way conversation. We need to engage more effectively and empower employees to be part of the process.
Yeah, and that will help change their mindset as well, won't it?
And look, there will be those that Raj mentioned that are disengaged and don't want to come back or don't want to resume their normal duties. Then that is a performance-related process. but we have to do it a little bit different during COVID. You know, in this stage, it's not black and white. Oh.
Yeah. And Raj, tell me, in terms of the recruitment market, how are you seeing this type of problem for employers affecting the recruitment and finding really high quality talent, do you think?
I think people are going to start to, and if they haven't already, they will start to do this more often now, is scrutinise their hires and overly scrutinise their hires. So I've seen examples where employers are doing background checks on individuals off the record, and connected through some, within 6 degrees of connection to somebody else, and through LinkedIn and people they know, they'll do a quick reference check. They'll say, what was that person's attitude like during the COVID period? How did they step up, or did they wilt away? And is this somebody who I can trust to come on and help my business? And you'll find that will happen more and more often. The interview process has changed as well. So I've heard lots of different examples of people now questioning people's self-motivation and drive because they're working from home, but they'll also look deeper at their attitude and their behaviors in that environment as well, and think, can this person really kind of lift their game, and are they going to be better than the person I've got in the seat at the moment? I think what will happen as we get closer to March, when the JobKeeper stops, is you're going to see higher turnover of staff. That's going to happen. And you're going to see mass retrenchments. I genuinely can see that happening, and I think that will occur. And the challenge will be for those employees who hit the job market during that time. If their industry hasn't gone into sheer collapse, if their business hasn't collapsed, and they've been selectively picked for retrenchment, then everybody is going to assume it's through performance, and it's down to performance or lack of performance. So it's some people it's fair, others it's not, and it's a poor brushstroke to take across an entire industry, but that's what will happen. And I think we have to be prepared for that, and we have to, as you said, Sally, consult and investigate and dig deeper into what employers are looking for.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, we've seen it in industries at the start of the lockdowns where they've used it as an opportunity to restructure and to make more profits in quiet times and things like that. But on the whole, I think most businesses have been really responsible and looked after their employees. Sally, is there anything else you're seeing in your clients at the moment, that we could help our clients understand how to deal with some of the effects of lockdown or the changing economy?
I think the consultation piece is, is the most important, and empowering your employees is extremely, important, so that they have a say in their future. If they feel like they're part of the team, developing, building, growing, solving the problems, then they're more likely to, come along for the ride. I think that's probably one of the most important things. And I think for employers to, for want of a better word, look at the wellness wheel and understand, mental health, you mentioned, Shauna, is going to be more important than ever before. And certainly the mental health effects are across financial, spiritual, emotional, a whole wide range of factors. And we need to be able to make sure that we address that. So whether it's a one-on-one catch up with every staff member, how you're feeling, what's important, what do I need to do to help you get back to the workplace or to help you perform your role as you need to. And I think that's probably, if there's one message I'd give, it's about looking, if you want to improve the culture and improve productivity, look to the wellness of each and every employee.
Each individual.